A new bridge. Will Sintel from the Advocate writes the story. A new bridge across the Mississippi River in would mostly benefit local motorists because they make up more than 80% of traffic on the interstate on the I-10 bridge today. Consultants told the state panel Monday. Officials said it means the new structure, which will cost up to $3 billion, amounts to a local bridge crossing. Quote, that is almost unbelievable. That is 80% local traffic, Fred Rayford, Director of Transportation and Drainage for East Baton Rouge, and a member of the Capital Area Road and Bridge District, which is leading the Hunt River Bridge. It's a little eye-opening, Rayford said. Crouere, the project manager for Atlas Technical Consultants, which is advising the state, said she would have guessed that bridge traffic made up about 50% motorists passing through Baton Rouge, and she'd been wrong. Moray also said big trucks make up only 15% of traffic crossing the bridge today. She said that, like the dominance of local traffic using the bridge, she would have guessed big trucks would comprise a much larger percentage of daily bridge traffic. All right, 3 questions for YouTube this morning. Question number 1, do you buy it? Question number 2, assuming the premise, assuming the position that this answer is correct, are you more confident that a new bridge will help allay traffic? Or are you in the camp that says Baton Rouge drivers are so creatures of habit? We do what we do, and we're not going to change. We put a new bridge in, and it's just going to sit there, not unlike the Audubon Bridge. Now, the Audubon Bridge is a different beast because it's too far away. But would a bridge closer have that same effect that the Audubon, or same lack of effect that the Audubon Bridge has on Baton Rouge traffic? And the third question being, are you surprised that the numbers are that low? 80%, or for non-residents, I mean, 80% Baton Rouge motorists, 15% trucks. If I'm doing my math right, everything else only amounts to 5%. Interstate travel that's not in an 18-wheeler only amounts to 5%. Let's talk. Mornings with Brian Haldane on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe while you're there. We are due up for our first break, though, so we're going to take that break right now. When we come back from that break, Brian Kelly addressed the media yesterday, post-New Mexico, pre-Auburn. I'm telling you right now, we're not going to spend any time looking back at New Mexico. It's time to start looking ahead. We will hear from Brian Kelly next.
So, I don't know what was going on.
Ever. Say what?
I don't know what was going on, but YouTube didn't have audio. They're saying it sounds better now, so they didn't hear your question.
Okay. Fine. Oh. The questions, YouTube, if I have to remember them. Are you surprised with the numbers on the... Well, you didn't hear the whole thing. You didn't hear the damn article either.
I'm sorry.
Why did YouTube not have me?
I don't know. I just went to the audio and hit default, and then now they have you.
Was there something in the settings that was off?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it wasn't something on the board. It was something in the settings. Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have access to our settings, or are our settings separate from everybody else's?
I think it's the same altogether. Like, I don't think they're separate from whatever somebody comes in here and does later.
So when JD Cody does his show, the audio can change. And when the financial fitness guys do their show, the audio can change. Okay. That means we have to start asking questions of what was going on yesterday. Because I was under the impression that when we left our stuff alone, our stuff was left alone. Jay does his stuff. Financial fitness guys do their stuff.
No, because whenever I come in, the camera's all different. Because
the camera itself, sure, but the other settings in there.
No, I think it's all together. I don't think it's by account.
Well,
I don't know, but...
Okay. All right, let me... Headline at the Advocate, YouTube. Headline at the Advocate, Baton Rouge's bridge problem isn't big trucks and travelers, it's local drivers. Will Sintel reports a new bridge across the Mississippi River in Baton Rouge would mostly benefit local motorists because they make up more than 80% of traffic on the I-10 bridge. Big trucks, the 18-wheelers, 15%. Fred Rayford was shocked with this discovery. I'm really not. Fred Rayford was shocked with this discovery. Crouere project manager for Atlas Technical Consultants, said she would have thought it was about 50-50. Big trucks making up 15% of the crossing the bridge today. She said that, like the dominance of local traffic using the bridge, she would have guessed big trucks would comprise a larger percentage. My questions to YouTube were, are you surprised that the number of local motorists is that high? Do you think, even with the number of local motorists being that high, do you think a different bridge would make a difference? Because Baton Rouge is such creatures of habit. Are we going to use a different bridge? I don't care if it's right next door to it and it's wide open and you can see that it's wide open every day. Are we going to use a different bridge? And the third part is, if 80% are local motorists and 15% are truckers, are you telling me that only 5% of those using the interstate are people using it for interstate travel? Like, that aren't truckers? That is baffling. Oh, God. I'm in so much pain today.
Update for you shortly. I'm Taylor Sharp.
Hey, it's Dave Ramsey. You can listen to me weekdays live from 1 to 4 p.m. on Talk 107.3, the new flavor of talk in Baton Rouge.
Strikes the retention. .617 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Sports time here on Mornings with Brian Haldane, and LSU football already looking ahead to the Auburn game. Nobody looking ahead to the Tennessee game. More on that in a second. Auburn is in a rather precarious position for many different reasons. Number one, every time their coach enters a room, some guy hollers, "Dead man walking!" But they're also in a rather precarious position at quarterback. TJ Finley underwent an MRI yesterday. Zach Calzada, the Texas A&M transfer, is hurt. I'm going to take a medical redshirt for this year. Then the next quarterback down might be hurt as well. Coach Brian Kelly was asked, what are they looking at for Auburn for quarterback this week?
I think you always have to keep an eye on, whether Finley plays as well. Certainly, he gives you, the throwing end of things. So we'll have to prepare for both. We don't have any firsthand information that one's playing over the other, but we'll be prepared for either one.
Mm-hmm. No sources there? What about from LSU standpoint? How are we looking at injury-wise?
Jaden, no residual effect from Saturday. He'll be able to practice. Let's see, Jay Ward feeling really good. I think he's a go for Tuesday. We'll probably limit his workload on Tuesday, but he should be able to go. Amani, it'll be a day-to-day situation with him.
Yeah, he's the one that I think most people are going to be a little bit leery about missing out on, because, boy, did he put on a show before exiting the game. One more, and that is about Hurricane Ian. The path that it's on now has a sliver of Alabama in its cone of uncertainty. What does that mean?
We've talked about a game plan in terms of what it might look like. Hopefully that's going to pass through. We're going to get probably some rain of some kind, and that'll be our first time in that kind of element. It's a grass situation. So, you put those plans together relative to what that would look like if, in fact, we did get hit with some severe rain.
We'll pick back up here after the Fox Business Report.
Is the Fox Business Report. Futures are up
They're
on
saying
Wall
you
Street
still
the
don't
morning
sound
after the
normal.
Dow and S&P 500 hit their lowest level since 2020, with the market
It feels like every time this happens, it's on a Tuesday, which makes me wonder if something going on for that financial fitness show.
Today, new pieces
Well, if it is, then we need to tell them stop effing around with the
Well,
buttons.
who's producing it?
I don't know.
Like a random
Is
person?
Chuck in for that show? Are they making demands during that show that he does something different?
No idea.
I'll talk to Chuck about it today.
A $100 million valuation despite only operating a single.
I got. There it is.
Sound now?
Now it went away again. There we go.
But you can hear me? My mic's not on.
It's ambient sound. It's the mic on the camera. Because all I hear the whole room. It's ambient sound. It's the mic on the camera. Because all.
Okay.
Skip the Cade Brumley thing for this segment. It's a waste of time to do that for YouTube if we're not working on YouTube right now. Leave it with the ambient sound for right now. We're coming back in. We'll get back into it when we get to Jeff Crouere.
Not causing any delays right now. Now, as far as our drive times go, we are still all clear on our.
Hey, morning, Christy. Welcome in, sweetheart. Glad to see you this morning.
Also, you can expect
Did not want to leave bed this morning.
Drive Highland Road to the Mississippi River
I think
Bridge.
it's cooler outside.
That is your
Lovely
latest
weather.
Scott Bill's traffic report. I'll have another update for you shortly. I'm Taylor Sharp.
This is about to piss me off.
Yeah, I'd rather take the damn YouTube feed down and not worry about having a shit show on there. Leave it for now. Coming up on 625 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Gonna check in with Jeff Crouere in our next segment. got a lot of ground to cover with you. There's so many different topics. I don't know where to start. There was an announcement made recently in New Orleans about the 911 call priority system has been updated. I mean, we hear the headlines here and we think we have it bad, and then all we have to do is just look down the road and think, golly, this could actually be so much worse. We'll get to all that in our next segment. Right now, though, I want to talk about, well, number one, we didn't get the start time for Tennessee yet. 11 a.m. is your kickoff time for the Tennessee game. Looking ahead beyond this week to the next week, and that's what the league does. They announce kickoff time 2 weeks out. LSU will kick off against Auburn 6 p.m. this week, and then next week it's going to be against Tennessee back home in Tiger Stadium at 11 a.m. kickoff, and that is just brutal, and nobody likes it. Nobody likes it. I don't know why it even exists. There are schools that willingly play at 11 a.m. There are schools that get up for that with their early risers, and they're barely tailgating over breakfast, and they go out to the stadium and they're all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and cheering. And we were meant to watch those schools. We were meant to watch them on TV when we get a later game. And looking ahead to that game, Tennessee's legit. So I'm a little bit worried about an early kickoff being awake enough for the team on that one. Back to this weekend in Auburn, Alabama, as we were talking about Hurricane Ian and what its potential effects would be. Alondra, do you still have that soundbite up?
Brian Kelly?
Yeah, here's what Brian Kelly had to say about preparing for the hurricane itself.
We've talked about a game plan in terms of what
There should be one more where he talks about how he's been through it before.
probably something So, you put those plans together relative to what that would look like if in fact you get this.
Now, it's hard to say exactly how much they're going to get because it's only in the cone of uncertainty. And Auburn, Alabama is about as close to the state line as you can possibly get, right? I mean, it's right there. You're crossing over into Georgia. So if you're looking at the cone, you're going to see it basically travels a little bit to the Alabama side of that state line, which would include Auburn. But at the same time, though, there's so many different factors that play into this. How fast is it going to move? Will it have pushed through there already? Will it hook any to the east once it's back on landfall? Yesterday, when we talked with Ben Schott, meteorologist Ben Schott from the National Weather Service was on with us, when we talked with him, he said it looks like there's going to be a slight turn. It's going to look like a turn to the west, but it's more to the north, and just shoot straight up. So that's not going to play in LSU's favor at all. Also, by 2 a.m. Saturday, as of right now, the National Hurricane Center is saying Ian will be down to a tropical depression, and it's going to be all the way to the eastern side of Georgia, but that cone still stretches back because this is a storm that's about, according to Ron DeSantis from Florida's governor, he's putting together evacuations right now. This storm's looking like it's about 500 miles wide. So it's hard this far out to play into it. It's hard this far out to, set the actual game plan. As far as Brian Kelly is concerned, and has he experienced this before? Because you would think, well, he was at Notre Dame for forever. How many experiences does he have with actual hurricanes? Well, he's done this before.
I've been in two remnants of hurricanes. One at North Carolina State, which was abysmal, and I think the other one was at Clemson. And they affect the game ticket. So you have to plan a game is affected dramatically, field position, basically how you call a game. You just have to wrap your head around it prior to prepare for it, and then quite frankly you have to react accordingly during the game. I'm not making too much of it. I'm not going to put it too much on our players. Our players need to play, and as coaches will adapt accordingly
Okay, so that right there should tell you, and this is not a shot at Brian Kelly by any stretch of the imagination, But that right there should tell you about his lack of experience with dealing with hurricane games. If he goes to, you have to adapt your game plan. No, sir. Let me tell you, when you have to revamp your schedule, reschedule home games to meet the contraflow on the interstate, when you have to have your basketball stadium, when your basketball arena becomes your triage hospital for the city down the road, like when you're doing that, that's adapting to a hurricane. Calling fewer passes is not adapting to a hurricane. That's rain. That's different. Oh, I'm a little bit jealous of being able to walk in and have that perspective, as opposed to that full-on blitzkrieg that we all know way too well. All right, quick break. Let's check news, traffic, weather. Come back. Jeff Crouere's next.
CBS News. Hurricane Ian made landfall in Cuba, a Category 3 storm and unleashing torrential
All right, so is it still ambient sound? Have you ever been able to isolate how to get?
Next up, something like they're staying at Star Security. Levels that we detect now seen in decades. The scores after its double space crash aligned with a faraway asteroid. At NASA.com.
If you would little things that maybe it is one of the it's not a TPL further away from Earth.
Education Department says teacher shortages are all too real. CBS's Vicki Barker, one school principal in Nebraska, says that 5 years ago he would get 50 to 100 applications for each elementary school teaching job that came open. This year, he says, an opening for a second grade teacher drew 5 applications. CBS News Brief. I'm Deborah Rodriguez.
Fire one of them.
I'm Jeff Palermo, the Talk 107.3 Baton Rouge Newsroom. LSU receives an elite designation for its cybersecurity program. It's pretty elite stuff. Really nice.
Director of the LSU Applied Cybersecurity Lab, Golden Rico, says the inside program is now a center of active.
I can't right now. I can't with this right now.
It's a
What?
win-win.
Act stuff.
And it all grants due to the designation. I'm Brooke Thorrington.
LSU women's basketball coach Kim Mulkey declined to comment about jailed women's basketball star.
Oh, that pissed me off. Like, everybody was all butthurt that she didn't want to comment on Brittany Griner.
Why would she comment on Brittany Griner?
Because either way, she's gonna get shit on. So
Right.
it's like, she didn't say anything and is still getting shit on.
There is now a blood test that can detect cancer without symptoms.
Stupid.
The new health advancement became available in the U.S. a year ago. Internal medical physician Dr. David Myers at Metairie says the test is unable to identify brain or skin cancer, but can easily pick up many aggressive forms of cancer.
Cancer grows rapidly.
Galen said, y'all sound better, but I don't have my mic on, so y'all shouldn't be hearing me.
Right. Well, it means we have ambient sound, which
Yeah.
means they're not going to hear Jeff Crouere.
Myers says the test is good at finding early stages of melanoma,
Kim
pancreatic,
Mulkey, Eric.
bile duct, and ovarian cancer. It costs about $950, and in order to get one, a doctor must approve it. Southeast Louisiana's under a red flag warning today. That means conditions are high.
Like, if I knew what they changed.
Right.
Because of breezy and dry conditions. A climatologist Barry Kine.
People want her to comment on it
107.3 Baton Rouge.
because she used to be Brittany Griner's coach, and it's like,
Yeah, it's a natural question, but you have to accept that as an answer.
yeah.
No, someone has to ask the question, but they have to ask the question knowing full well she's not going to answer it.
To learn more. Still looking really good in and around the Baton Rouge area this morning. No major accidents to report, and really the volume is still pretty light across the board right now. If you're trying to take your time leaving for work this morning and having that leisurely drive, right now is the time to do that because, again, there's very little volume on our interstate system, which should make for some pretty quick drive time. And speaking of those drive times, it's about 20 minutes. Jubin's at the 10-12 split. And I-10 is still wide open this morning. Just a 16-minute drive, Highland Road, but the Mississippi River Bridge. That's the latest.
Okay, can YouTube hear me right now? because I just changed something.
See, I'm not going to follow up and ask the same thing because then they would know.
Yeah.
Wait, I can answer the question. Duh. How about
Okay.
how about you do this again?
Can you two hear me right now?
Yeah. It's
But it's like I changed something, so it's. I mean, sorry, I forgot. All right, let me try it
This
again.
is why every single time anything goes wrong, I ask that they put instructions, like a planogram,
Yeah.
up on the wall. Hey, Taylor, can you,
Taylor's not gonna know.
well, fresh eyes. Can you tell what, often we're getting ambient sound instead of the mic? I know this stuff. On YouTube? Yeah.
It's not the board, it's that.
Yeah, it's definitely not the board, because it sounds like it comes with the board.
No, those are always on.
Does it always look like that?
It always looks like that. That's what I'm saying, like you're not gonna know.
I know, don't hear from that. What's that?
Microphone, webcam.
Sounds like it would be the microphone from the webcam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only other option. It wasn't on that. Then.
Weather. It wasn't. It was on what?
I guess put it back
All
on.
right. Hey, you got to get Jeff on the phone.
Okay, weather, real quick.
Yep. Time for us to get a look at your forecast. Here is WBRZ meteorologist Marissa Nuzzo.
The cooler air has finally moved.
I put it on
in
YouTube
after
for
starting
Christy.
out in the low 60s this morning.
Thanks.
Temperatures will climb into the low 80s this afternoon. Skies will be sunny and clear all day. Temperatures tonight will drop into the upper 50s. The humidity is so low that there's a red flag warning issued for South Louisiana. Gusty winds and dry air can easily start a fire. Any kind of outdoor burning is not recommended through the rest of the day.
It's very funny because my producer on Snaps, I told you, was telling me there's going to be a quarterback controversy, and I was like, no fucking way. And that was like, dude.
Hey, Jeff, just getting,
And then later that
getting
day,
you all
Jeff
Brian.
started going like, I thought quarterback
Okay, but
controversy. Like, yeah, you're really good. Like, oh my god, dude. I can't believe it.
638, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Time to check in down in New Orleans. Here to remake Police Academy 4, Citizens on Patrol, is Jeff Crouere, host of Ringside Politics. Jeff, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Brian. Good morning to you.
Good morning. You don't mind starting there, do you? It was the one that had Bobcat Goldthwait and when he was already a cop and started recruiting other guys, just regular Joes. Sweet Chuck was in that one. It was just David Spade was even in that one. Yes. What was his name? He was no. What was Bubba Smith's name in Police Academy? I'm breaking on that one. I will look it up while we talk about what's actually going on, and that is that NOPD is just recruiting randos.
Right. Well, it is so bad that they are just so bad that they now have to turn to civilians to try to fill the void, and the civilians are going to be hired to do some desk work and paperwork and office work so that more of these officers can get out on the streets and help deal with this crime surge that they're seeing. Incredible increase in crime.
Bubba Smith was Hightower. Okay, so when we look at it through that lens, it's not a matter of actually getting regular everyday folks who have not been through a full-on police academy out on the street. They're going to handle the stuff back in the office. Now, so there's no way this is a good idea, but at least it's not as bad of an idea as it could be.
Right. I mean, you're not going to be hiring civilians to deal with hardened criminals. It's a way to try to get more of these police officers out of the streets when you just don't have enough police officers. When we're 600-700 officers for the city. So, they say they're going to be hiring up to 75 civilians to respond to calls, do the kind of office work that sometimes, officers get bogged down in. And this way, it'll help a little. But, I mean, 75 civilians might free up some officers, but we're still hundreds of officers below what we need today.
Well, yeah, because I mean, if there were enough officers back in the individual stations and headquarters and whatnot to make a huge difference, that would make you rethink your overall plan. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. Last year we lost 150 officers, and that is on track to be longer this year. And they need to have a lot of soul searching as to why these officers are leaving. It's not because of pay. The salary was competitive. In fact, it was for the surrounding departments. So, there are other issues that are driving these officers out. One of them is that they work in an incredibly unsafe environment. People that they have to rearrest over and over and over again.
And that right there is a sentence that you'll hear from Baton Rouge Police Chief Murphy Paul almost weekly. Is that we're tired of my. It's a Sisyphean effort, and people just walk away. You get frustrated, and eventually you start doing things you shouldn't be doing, and that's where you end up with the quote-unquote bad cops and headlines all over CNN. Jeff, what about going the other way? Instead of recruiting civilians, has the possibility of bringing the DOJ into New Orleans been tossed around a little bit? Because if I'm not mistaken, y'all walked down that path, I guess about 20 years ago? Along with the consent decree, though, there has to be, wow, that was an unfortunate phrase, consent decree. Along with the consent decree, there's got to be some level of not just auditing and grading, but teaching as well. Why is that not a part of this equation? Well, and it's starting to show now. We were texting back and forth before the segment. The Rock and Roll Marathon might be a direct example of how this is starting to show. It is, and those that travel for races, and we've gotten to know this a little bit here in Baton Rouge. We have the Louisiana Marathon runs in January, which is brilliant because you can't really run a marathon in January in most places around the country. Marathoners that travel to go to these races, they want the full thing. That's the whole reason they travel. They can stay home and run a 10 or a 15K. Yeah, you're not booking a flight in a hotel room to run a race that you would normally run for. Yeah. Understandable and regrettable. Now, the Rock and Roll Marathon, if I'm not mistaken, was slated for early next March. If we can't equip that, if New Orleans isn't in the manpower for that, how are we looking right now for Mardi Gras? Has there been an update on that announcement? Right. Yeah. So let's talk about that because a lot of what I'm seeing, Jeff, is and granted, I'm an hour away, so I'm not as firsthand a view, but a lot of what I'm seeing is not from the folks that I thought were going to be the ones up front on this. This is a lot of folks who are saying, I voted for LaToya and I feel betrayed. That's crazy. Yeah, it could. It's been an intriguing case study thus far, and it continues to grow in unexpected ways. In the meanwhile, we always appreciate you hopping on board every Tuesday. He is Jeff Crouere, host of Ringside Politics. Man, we'll talk to you soon. Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, if you don't have the manpower from law enforcement's end to handle a marathon in the first weekend in March, you definitely don't have the manpower to handle the biggest free show on earth a week and a half prior to that. And that's just Mardi Gras Day. Forget about that. Just back it all the way up through Endymion, back it all the way up through the week leading up to that. It's getting nasty. All right, 650, Talk 107.3 FM. Here comes your money now.
Sorry, I'll just vote, and
I texted Chuck as
I texted
well.
Chuck too, and I texted Bo. I'm gonna restart, so I'm gonna end the YouTube stream and restart it.
All right, YouTube, we're about to bounce.
Be right back, YouTube. Hopefully
And we're going to start off as a separate stream.